We've been very adamant about how dangerous Bari Weiss is and the role that she is playing right now in trying to establish some type of a U.S.-based Zionist empire through corporate media. Of course, CBS is in the toilet right now, and they're in the billionaire Zionist class's mind. Let's put Bari Weiss in charge. That'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
But you refer to her as Goebbels, and where I thought that was actually very relatable is that right when Raifat al-Arir was assassinated, because that's essentially what happened. One of the things I mentioned in his book, which I did read and we talked about on the show, is how he said, if there is anybody to point the finger at, if I die, it's Bari Weiss. So make sure you point it at her if I do. And so you decided to make a post regarding this. I can only imagine, if you want to talk about the type of threats you got from the Zionist class as a result of doing that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My earbuds just like went out. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it was quite crazy. I actually just dashed off the tweet, and I've called her Goebbels like 80 times and nothing ever happened, and mostly on comments on her post. And so I was just shocked. I was like feeding my son breakfast, and I was just like, oh, I was half awake. Let me just tweet this thing. And then I looked at Twitter, and it had just gotten picked up by a lot of crazy Zionists and gone off. I made the mistake of deleting the tweet, not because I thought I was wrong, but there's a reason I can't really talk about now. It put somebody in a bad position that I felt bad about. And the person was like, it would really help if you deleted it. And I was like, oh, damn, I really don't want to delete it because it looks like a concession. So I deleted it and replaced it with a more articulated argument as to the parallels between her and Goebbels. I'm reluctant to say, I wouldn't say in any legal sense she could be guilty of murder, at least not with the evidence we have now. I mean, there might be more, not what I, know. But I mean, he made a pretty compelling argument. He showed the threats that he was getting after she quote tweeted him. He made a joke about the babies baked in the ovens, which some people might consider tasteless. Certainly is not, a tweet I would have done, but whatever. It was a joke. And he was mocking it because it was so clearly fabricated. And so she had quote tweeted him and said, something, and she has very strong influence over the IDF. I mean, people were accusing me of saying she controlled the IDF. No, I don't think she controls the IDF, but they pay attention to what she says. And he was getting crazy death threats right after that. And he said he believed that she would be responsible for his death, which again, isn't hard and fast evidence that that's why he died, but I think it's enough to raise some questions. But you don't even need to go there, to consider her, to see how heinous she is. I mean, she's printed piece after piece justifying the genocide. She prints nothing on the other side. She'll occasionally take some person who's sort of I would say a traitorous Palestinian who clearly works for Israel. But she was touting this piece written by her writer Olivia Reingold, basically saying there's no starvation in Gaza because the kids who are dying, also have shrapnel in their heads and rickets and stuff like that, which is caused by malnutrition. It's caused by malnutrition. So it's just disgusting, atrocity propaganda. So, but yeah, it was crazy. People were calling my new job, trying to get me fired. Last week, my boss was like, okay, we're a pro-Palestine organization. They can try, but whatever. But it was just crazy. And I suspect she activated her networks. She saw the tweet and.
I want to jump in there real quick about Rafik, because I went back and looked, right? I specifically, remember by that time I was all in, and I remember all of that happening. And I was very interested specifically in what was going around. So what happened was Rafik QT'd someone who had specifically mentioned they put a baby in an oven. Right. And for us now, we're almost 2 years out from that. It's we know it's been debunked. It was debunked. But at the time, on the 29th, I believe it was, that tweet, this was actually a new claim. So where this came from was one of the founders, the leaders of Zaka, which is the Israeli rescue team, but it's not like officially by the state. It's like this NGO. He had gone to the Jewish Republican conventions of a Republican Jewish coalition, right? And they had a governor's meeting. So they had a leadership summit from the 27th to the 29th of October. And he gave a speech specifically saying that there were these babies. They didn't know which head belonged to which baby. Okay, so we know, total lie, that did not happen. He said that they had all these kids. And then he specifically said they put a baby in an oven. That's actually where that came from, was this man's speech that he gave at the RJC in Las Vegas, right? So it was, I believe it was John Potteritz who had posted about that. They put the baby in the oven. Rafi retweeted it because, again, he knew. At this time, we knew. But Bari and all of the Zionist class and whatnot, they were still believing this, right? So this it was actually a new claim. It was actually different than the 40 beheaded babies, which has already been debunked. This was brand new. And so she took that as him mocking, right? Even though we know that it was, in fact, it was a lie. And so now she's kind of benefiting, I think, from like saying, well, how could you say that I had him killed? But no, because at this time, everybody was really passionate. Tensions were really, really high, and they were acting like that was real, and they took it, and she made it out to be that he was mocking this child that at that time they all believed had been put in an oven, quote unquote. And she absolutely 100% put a freaking target on him when she did that. All right. So I went back and I really looked at it. I really studied everything. I was like, I was trying to put myself back in that time. But lucky for me, one of their little Hasberis, who's always in my mentions crying about something, he had actually written an entire thread. His name is like Orel. I'm sure if you saw him, you guys have all seen him. He was actually in my mentions, and he wrote an entire thread about this. And this was on the 30th. I was like, holy crap. How are they still talking about this on the 30th? They knew by then, but no, this had been a new rumor that had just been sparked up. So she absolutely knew what she was doing. Tensions were high. And then, he had the threats come in from the IDF immediately after that. So I do absolutely think I 100% blame her for it. She knew exactly what she was doing. And again, these people all knew that this was a lie. By October 30th, they 100%, they knew the names and the ages and the manners in which all of these people died, and they knew that was a lie, and they spread it anyways. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to get that in there.
No, I mean, Jen, you talk about it all the time. I mean, it's all, at this point, if it's not for financial gain, I don't know what it's for. It doesn't make any sense, because Bari Weiss, there was always something about her. I knew that she was a freaking snake in the grass.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what she did to Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, listen, think what you want about Tulsi, but you do not denigrate our service members, especially ones that serve as medics in combat zones. I mean, to me, there's also, and especially if you grew up in the Deep South, where being in the military is almost like a rite of passage in a lot of ways for a lot of people. There's a lot of jealous people who have a certain sense of incompleteness or lack of valor, if you will, and they like to throw stones at people that have that courage. And somebody like Bari Weiss reminds me of, Ben Shapiro, Dave Packman, guys like that, who denigrate our service members all the time. Like, they do it without even hesitation. And so her motivation to kind of get to the top in terms of corporate media doesn't surprise me in the least. But she, in many ways, I think, as Jen, you would probably allude to, is somebody who likes there to be a lot of anti-Semitic fervor in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Career.
Yeah.
She,
For sure. And I mean, it's just shocking. She's going to get editorial discretion over, CBS. And
when one of the richest men in the world, at times I think the second richest man, Larry Ellison, who is the co-founder of Oracle, gives the reins to his nepo baby son, and he decides, what am I going to do with daddy's money? I'm going to go buy CBS News. And what am I going to do? I am going to make it a pro-Zionist network across the board. Larry Ellison is the biggest financial contributor to the IDF in the world. So this does not, the pieces, you may not be able to prove that they're all connected, but man, they fit like a glove in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you know what's interesting though about, you know, all these people is that they're so in their own echo chamber. You know, most people, especially young people that are now like coming into being involved or getting to the right age to like realize, wait, we're being screwed. Those people don't watch CBS. Those people don't watch mainstream media. So it's sort of like the Democrats, the libs, they're all in their own little echo chamber, and most of their people are going to be dying off. So that's sort of the positive, is that most people that we would consider part of what we're trying to do, there's going to be more of us, and those people are dying off that watch that crap.
I agree with you guys, except for I did look at the numbers today. I was just very curious about the actual network numbers. CBS Nightly News, they are at the very low end. They're pretty much all of them, ABC, NBC, CBS, they're all neck and neck. But the crown jewel is 60 Minutes, and it has the highest of any network. So it averages last season, 2024-2025 season, it averaged 8.5 million viewers every Sunday night.
Wow.
And that is more than Fox News brings in. That's more than anybody. It is the crown jewel of American news television, right? And that's what they want. And that's what he went for. Yeah.
There's also a lot of nostalgia surrounding 60 Minutes.
Yep.
JFK's assassination, just how long it's been on the air, and the fact that it's pretty much watched across the political spectrum. Yes, it's liberal leaning, sure, but you know, most people do still think that 60 Minutes is news.
What's the average age of a 60 Minutes viewer?
Probably 65.
Like, that's what I'm curious. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the next generation, they don't watch that. So it might be so big right now, and then it will all of a sudden just sort of not be, because the people are going to die. So I don't know. I mean, it might be very big for those shows and for network and for all that. But anybody that's like, let's say 18 to 35, they're not watching. Like that whole group is not going to watch any of that stuff.